Hey everyone, I'm back live with our last video of the night or morning, whichever time you're watching from. But today we're talking about three KPIs that I recommend for entrepreneurs to focus on. So every industry is going to be a little bit different with which KPIs you want to focus on. And if you don't know what a KPI is, it's very easy. It's just a key performance indicator. And what that really means is usually a number that tells you what it is you need to, what behaviors you need to work on. So if you ever worked in like retail, sales environments, anywhere where you're basically analyzing a business, you will see KPIs, your key performance indicators. And usually, it's always tied to a specific behavior that you can either stop doing or you can start doing to see sales growth in your business or to see overall growth in your business. I'll give you an example. When I worked in retail, one of the KPIs that we focused on was conversion. And we focused on conversion because the question that we were asking with conversion is out of all of the customers that walked in, how many were you able, well, out of all the viewers or shoppers that walked in, how many were you able to convert into customers, people who actually made a purchase and became, a part of shopping with the store. So conversion was different depending on what business I was working with and what type of store it was that I was working for. If it was a smaller location, the conversion was probably going to be a little bit higher. They were expecting that we get more people because we have more time with each customer. If it was a larger location, the conversion was probably going to be a little bit lower because they were expecting that we would have less time with the customers due to the fact that it was extremely high volume. So it really does depend on the volume of your location. It also depends on the industry. Are you a brick and mortar location? Are you online? These are questions that you have to ask yourself when determining what is the right KPI goal that you need to set for yourself. But today we're not here to talk about setting KPI goals. We're here to talk about KPIs that you may want to look into that can help you learn a little bit more about your business or your behaviors that you're contributing to your business that are either helping you gain sales or potentially hindering you from gaining sales. So, the first KPI that we're going to talk about is email capture. I've talked about this many times with my private clients and my private rooms and stuff, but I don't know if this is my first time. I don't think it's my first time talking about this publicly. But email capture is an extremely important KPI. Why? Because when you think about all the different ways that you can stay connected with your clients and your customers and your shoppers, um, you have social media, you have podcasts, blogs, all these different places. You have phone text notification, and then you have email notification. Text notification can be very effective because most people will open up their phone and open up the text message. However, if you haven't developed a relationship with the customer yet, it may feel a little bombarding or a little aggressive in a way that may turn them off and make them want to unsubscribe quickly. So we want to be as effective as possible. You can work your way to text or initially start off with text, but I'm going to talk about email capture because email capture allows you to send your clients or potential clients emails with information about your brand without necessarily calling them or sending them a direct text message, and keep them informed about your business. And the reason why it can be very effective is because you're competing for your client's mind share. Now, mind share is basically, so the best way to describe competing for your client's mind share is if there's a Walmart and there's a Target. Let's say that Target advertises every day of the week. Let's say that Walmart advertises once a week. They're both competing for the customer's attention. That's really what mind share is, the customer's attention and the customer's ability to remember them. So that when they go to spend their money, they're going to remember where to shop with. Now, if Target is posting ads every day, Walmart is only posting ads once a week. Chances are when a customer says, where should I shop? They might shop at Target. Now, well, we don't know about with Target, with all the stuff that's been going on with Target, but still, just use it as an example. Bear with me. So, the mind share is what a lot of advertisers are competing for. It doesn't always have to mean that you have to be the most frequent ad. However, you can focus on being the most effective ad. You can focus on being the most heartfelt or intentional ad or email that you send out to people. But you have to be consistent about sending out these emails because it's reminding the customers to come and check you out and learn about you. So that's why I mentioned email capture. If you're not already capturing emails from your potential customers, from your networking partners, from people that are shopping with you, I highly recommend to start capturing emails. Now, the next KPI that I'm going to share is conversion. Now, this one is kind of controversial because, like I said, it really does depend on if you're a brick and mortar location or if you're an e-commerce brand. But conversion is basically asking, out of all the people that came to your website or all the people that walked through your store, how many people actually purchased something. If you are a brick and mortar location and you don't have an actual website or, people tracker, there's a different name for it. But, if you don't have a sensor when people are walking in to count how many people are walking in, you would have to manually count, which may be possible depending on the size of your location, but it is not required. It's not the end of the world. But conversion is something that I personally like to look at because it kind of helps me to do the math. For example, if I have 2,000 people visit my website in 1 month, and out of the 2,000 people that visit, 100 people either purchase something or subscribe to a service. Now I know if I want to get 200 people, I'm going to have to get 4,000 foot traffic to my website, assuming that I would use the same foot traffic or go to the similar locations that I went to get the original traffic, because sometimes you can get a lot of traffic and a lot of views, but it not be your target audience. So it will not be as effective. So that's also extremely important to look into as well, which is why I didn't prioritize conversion at the top because that's going to take a little bit more time. But conversion is something that I do look at, and I look at it when I'm hosting events. Another great example of how conversion can help you is if I know that I'm hosting an event and when I invite 100 people, about 50 people attend, I use that as math, as projection to determine how many seats I need to have set up. I usually have food for everybody, but just in case, have it for the set amount of people that are projected to attend. When I'm hosting events for the future years, I look into the budgeting and I project based off of those numbers as well. So it can truly help me in many different ways. The next thing is your client retention rate. So this one, again, important, but might be a couple of things you want to consider. The first thing is when you're focusing on retaining customers, your goal is not to keep every customer. Your goal is to deliver the best service to the customers that you know are right for you. So let me reword that. What I mean is, I don't want you to get so focused on the retention rate that you start to take on projects or clients that don't align with your brand. If there's ever a time where you feel like something doesn't align, it's okay to release that project and release that client so they can find someone that better aligns with them. Don't get obsessed with the retention rate to the point where you lose yourself and the value of what it is that you're doing because you're trying to please everyone, because you can't possibly please everyone in business without losing parts of yourself or your brand. And that's what makes you so unique. And there's a lot of people out here who will appreciate what you have to offer. So, retention rate, just keep that little piece in mind as we're talking about it. But retention is important for me because it allows me to see how well I'm able to keep my clients' attention, how well I'm able to provide services that anticipate their future needs. For example, a client might come to me and say they want a website, and I know that you might want a website, but you're also probably going to want assistance with marketing or advertising that website. And down the line, you're probably going to want some business cards to go with that website. And then down the line, you're probably going to want some consulting because you feel like you want to continue to grow your education, or you want to gain more sales and you want to sell better now that you have a professional platform. And that's how it works with anticipating your consumers' needs. You understand what the next step is going to be for them. That can help with retaining customers because you're able to provide them with some of those services. But another thing that has always helped me with retaining customers is focusing in on my top 20% first. I'm sure you've probably heard the stats before of 20% of your customers will make up 80% of your profit in your business. And the saying behind that is that, those core clients that are consistently coming back and shopping with you and love your products and services is where your loyalty, your rewards, your programs, your tests should really be catered to. So I focus on retention because I like to pay attention to how well I'm able to cater to the clients that I've had for a very long time and how special I can make them feel while still elevating their experience and elevating my brand. So those are the top 3 KPIs, key performance indicators, that I focus on with growing my business. Well, some of the top, because there's clearly more, but I'm just putting 3 out there that I do recommend. And I want to remind everybody that depending on your industry, you may have to practice discernment and let 1 or 2 of those go, because Every industry is different. Your location, are you brick and mortar? Are you e-commerce? Your target audience, do they like a specific way of communication or a specific way of being sold to? Those things really do, make a difference. But if I had to tell you which one I feel like is most beneficial, I would say the email capture, because no matter what type of brand, let me not say that. Let me say there are multiple successful brands out here in all different volumes that use email newsletters. So you see brands that are a lot smaller using email newsletters, and then you see brands that have been around for years still using email newsletters. And you see small businesses utilizing email newsletters. So email is one of the ways that we can contact people. Think about all the times that social media has gone down. If you have been building your audience off of social media and you have not been converting your followers into subscribers to your newsletter, when that social media goes down or you have a glitch or we don't want that to happen. But if anything were to ever happen where you weren't able to access your social media temporarily or permanently, all of those potential leads are disappearing. Some of them might be able to find you through other platforms, but some of them may have lost you. You may have lost them forever. So converting them into subscribers on your email newsletter ensures that you have a second backup option so that if something does happen and social media goes down, you can still be in communication with them and you can still continue that connection with your audience. These things have been super beneficial to me. I've talked about them even before social media actually went down, because we had a couple times when we had issues on like Facebook and Instagram and people were freaking out. But I talked about this way before that instance happened about the importance of having your email capture together so that when these things are not going right, you always have a way to communicate with your clients. And the more you build trust with them, the more information they're going to be willing to provide you with because they want to hear more from you. So they'll start with the email newsletter, or I'm sorry, they'll start with following you. They'll move to subscribing to your newsletter. They'll move to watching your podcast or listening to your podcast, reading your blogs, subscribing to your blogs. Then they'll move to giving you their either mailing address or home address so that you can ship out magazines to them or you can ship out thank you cards. It's a level of trust that keeps growing. And the more trust you build, the more information you're able to gather for your customers so that you can continue to keep that connection growing regardless of what is going on out on the outside world. So what if social media shuts down because you're already connected to your clients and you know how to communicate with them and stay connected and keep that relationship going so that it doesn't fade out and they forget about you. So that is why email captures at the top of the list for me. I hope that you took at least one of these to give you some inspiration on how you can help to grow your brand. And if you would like some business consulting one-on-one, you can send a message to 833-705 4352. This is our test helpline, text line. But the disclaimer that I will leave that I said earlier is that every brand is going to be a little bit different. So I couldn't possibly give a specific assessment to each business on this live because everyone has different needs in different industries. However, if you are looking for business consulting, we do provide that through bossbabeblog.com for brands that are wanting to be marketed. But we also provide it through NBC.click for brands that simply want the business coaching or business consulting by itself. You can order it in a bundle, in a package, and receive it for the highest at the best price point, or you could just purchase one consultation by itself, which would be the going rate right now, I think is around 60 minutes, $60, but it just depends on what all you're wanting for the service. But just text us, tell us what you're needing, and we can get back to you with a service and we can do a one-on-one consult. So this can be a personalized conversation to help you determine what you can prioritize to see growth in your business and to analyze your behaviors so that you're not hindering yourself from gaining sales. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Don't forget to subscribe if you love our content. And I will be back on Thursday to host our Boss Babe Business Show. Bye-bye.